Okay, so if she were to drop over right now, just drop onto the ground, what would you do?
I would scream probably. Maybe give her CPR.
Okay.
Check if she was breathing.
Okay, check if she's
Yeah.
breathing. Okay. Have you, and then what would you do after that?
I would try to perform CPR because I'm CPR certified, but I would probably call for help because I don't trust myself.
Have you ever heard of compressions only CPR or hands only CPR?
Yeah, we learned that in my CPR class.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So would you perform that on her after calling for help?
Yes, probably. I might give her mouth to mouth because she's my best friend.
Okay. So if he were to fall over right now and just fall to the ground,
Right.
what would be the first thing that you would do?
I would immediately run over to him and see if he was breathing, see if he had a heartbeat, and ask him if he was okay, if he was conscious. And then
What if
I
he
would
wasn't
ask for help.
conscious?
If he wasn't conscious, then I would yell for someone to call 911 emergency. Yeah, I mean, we have a first aid kit here, but I don't know if it would help in that kind of situation.
And then after calling for help, what would you do?
I would stay with him until help came.
Okay. Have you ever heard of compressions only or hands only CPR?
Like you do with babies, like infants.
No, it's a new way of doing CPR with only chest compressions. So no rescue breathing, just chest compressions.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of that.
Well, I'll give you some information on it because it's a really great way to save lives. Okay, so if this guy were to drop over to the ground, what would you do?
I would probably try and get somebody to call 911. I don't know CPR. So.
Okay, have you ever heard of hands only or compression only CPR? No, okay. I'll give you some information. Okay, so if he were to fall over to the ground right now, just drop down, what would you do?
I would go over and see if he was okay, and then if he's not responsive, I would call 911 or see if anyone around the doctor.
So let's just say you call 911, you have somebody else call 911, no one's around, there's a doctor, then what would you do?
Well, I would assess the situation to see if I could try to figure out why he just suddenly passed out, like if he was choking on something or if it was just like, I don't really know what I would do, maybe or something.
Have you ever heard of chest compression only CPR or hands only CPR?
Yes.
Okay, what do you know about that?
Not too much, just that it's more pumping the chest and that you aren't blowing the air
So one were to fall over right now, just fall to the ground, what would you do?
I'd ask him if he's okay.
Okay, and then if he didn't respond, what would you do?
I would probably call you. No. I would run to him and find out what's going on, probably try to check his pulse.
Okay.
I don't know, I've always been taught not to touch somebody that's down necessarily because you don't know what's wrong with them, so I wouldn't want to injure him anymore.
Okay. Have you ever been trained in CPR before?
Yes, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, but the last time I was trained was probably when I was like 16.
Have you ever heard of chest compressions only or hands only CPR?
Yes, I feel like I have, but that was, I guess, when I was 16, so that's probably 12 years ago.
Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, so if he were to just drop to the ground right now, what would you do?
First, I'd check his heartbeat. I would check his pulse. I would look to see if he was having any obstruction with his breathing. If he was, I would straighten his throat and try to see or dislodge it. If he was clearly telling me that he could not breathe, then I would probably apply CPR. I think it's, how many compressions? 2 chest, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, couldn't breathe. Oh no, it's the Heimlich maneuver if you can't breathe. I would do the Heimlich maneuver.
Okay, so let's just say it wasn't that his airway was the problem, but he just wasn't responding to you, you know, he wasn't talking to you, he was just unresponsive, then what would you do?
I'd call 911.
And then what would you do in the meantime until help arrived?
I would, I check his vitals, and then I try to make a deduction on what I could do right there, whether it be his pulse, his breathing, his heartbeat. Yeah.
Have you ever
And see
heard
if
of bystander or chest compression only or hands only CPR?
Hands only. Yeah. I don't. I've heard of it. I don't think I know when it's properly applied. I think it's Is that something about legality and who's like to blame if something goes wrong?
No, it's actually in 2008 it became the standard by the American Heart Association for, so if you were to fall over and it wasn't responding